What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another stream. We are on day 2 of our, I don't know what I really want to call this. I guess it's kind of like a streamathon type situation. But all week here at IBZ Films on YouTube, we will be talking about basically leveling up yourself as an editor. So different things. Yesterday we talked about, you can go back and catch all the streams because I'm leaving them up on my channel. So if you go to like the live, panel on my channel, you can see all the videos that all my live streams up there. But yesterday we talked about some different tips and tricks to help yourself edit faster, speed up your workflow in Davinci Resolve. And today we're going to be covering, I think, one of the probably most highly searched things for filmmakers and people who are making content and editing and things like that on YouTube, which is how to get the film look. But we're not really, is kind of that, but essentially what I'm trying to do is kind of talk about what that actually means, in my opinion, and how to think about it, so that way it's not just it's not like, oh, I just hit one button and now I have the film load. There's more that goes into it than that. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop in. Let me check the stream to make sure audio is good. Okay, yeah, we're coming in good today. I noticed the other day from yesterday that my audio was kind of low, and I realized I was not really talking into the mic that well, so I got it nice in position. So that way we are good to go. So I think we're good here. Let me just make sure things are looking how I want them to. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and hop in. We're still going to be working in this project that I was telling you guys about last time, or yesterday. All right, so basically what we're going to be talking about first is what the title of today's stream is: The Truth About the Film Look, and it's not what you think. So one of the things I want to kind of hop on that I think a lot of people kind of, I think, assume incorrectly, in my opinion, is that all you have to do is grab a LUT and you just get this cinematic looking LUT, something that says, oh, this is a film look, and you just grab it and throw it on your footage. I think that's becoming more and more obvious to people. So I just want to kind of continue to push that wave. I think that we're experiencing in the industry, that people are starting to become more educated when it comes to filmmaking. And it's not just like, oh, let me just grab this cool look that my favorite YouTube creator or my favorite LUT creator or somebody made a LUT or a pack. Let me just grab that because their footage looks super cool. I'm gonna just drop it on. And most people who make LUTs, I would say probably will tell you, it's more to it than just grabbing it and dropping it. When you're working with LUTs, you have to consider a lot of different things. You have to consider the camera, what type of footage it's made for. If it's made for Rec 709, things like that. And I've talked about that before on this channel. You have creative LUTs, you have technical LUTs, you have LUTs for, like I'll use Sony as an example. Sony has like technical LUTs that essentially will convert S-Log footage, like flat S-Log 3 footage, to Rec 709. And that's more of a technical LUT. But then you have creative LUTs, and that's where you start getting things like more of a cinematic look and cinematic feel and things like that. So we're going to kind of go into that today, and let me go ahead and reset all grades. So we're back in this project again that I am in the middle of editing, that I directed. Let me grab the hero shot. All right, cool. Only thing is I don't want to see that marker there. All right. So first things first, when you bringing in something that was shot professionally, most times it's probably going to be log. So you got to do your basic conversion. So we're going to do that quickly. I've done this before, so if you want to see it like more detailed and different methods, you can definitely check that out. I'm going to go ahead and convert this, and then we're going to start talking more about the film look. All right, so I'm just going to do a quick little. This is slightly different than how I would normally do this. If I'm doing a project and there's like a lot I tend to use groups and things like that, where I will group a bunch of clips together and put the conversion on all of them. But I'm only doing this clip by clip, so I'm gonna just do it on the clip level here in Davinci Resolve, and then we'll go from there. Let me give myself a little bit more real estate here. Okay, that's how it is. Let me reset that. Pull this over. All right. I've said this before. I like to work in aces. There's no right or wrong to that. You can work in whatever color space you want to work in, and I prefer using nodes. That's just how I've been learning how to do it. You can set everything up in Davinci Resolve ahead of time, but I just like to show you guys how I work because it's how I work. So I'll be more, there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. I don't believe you're losing anything. You'll be able to follow me because I'll be able to do it. This is what I do all the time. So I found out what the camera is. Start off with that. I know what the settings are, but sometimes you may have to look it up. I know this is F-Log footage because I shot this. We shot this film on the Fujifilm X-T3, and we shot it F-Log. That camera doesn't have F-Log 2, so that's why I didn't use it. So you put your input transform. I'm working at ACES version 2.0, and then my output, I want to be in ACES color space. So I go ahead and scroll down till I find ACES CCT. Then I'll go over. ACES is what has been accepted as an industry standard. That's why I use it. But a lot of people use Davinci wide gamut or Davinci intermediate a lot as well. All right, so now we're going to be in ACES, and then we're going to go out. Our output is going to be Rec 709 BT 1886, and that will look differently depending on what you're doing. So that's, one way to do that conversion, like that. And you can always kind of experiment with these. You can do it a lot of different ways, but again, I'm not going to get too lost on that. But I might kind of play with it a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We are open to questions here. And we just make sure and see if we got any comments. I see we have some viewers. Just want to make sure there's no comments. All right, cool. No comments yet. But yeah, if you're watching, feel free to let me know where you're watching from and what how long you've been working in Davinci Resolve and what type of videos you make, that kind of stuff. All right, so basically, just kind of show you what I'm doing so we don't get lost here. This is like my input. So I'm going to say ACES in, and then I'm going to say Rec 709 out. You don't have to do this per se if you know what you're doing already. A lot of times I won't call it that. I might just call it in and out. But I'm just saying this so that way visually you guys can see what I'm doing, and we know we're following each other. We're like, we know what's going on, what we're doing. So everything we're going to do in the middle happens in the ACES transform, and then here we go out to Rec 709, which is our display, our color display. Okay, so what is the film look? So first things you might think, okay, I found this cool LUT, and I'm gonna just grab. I don't really have anything already. Do I have? I might actually I do have something I could grab, but I think the problem is I probably built it for. No, I think I did. Let's see. I think I have one of my LUTs that could work for this. My LUTs, Filmmakers Flow. It might. Oh, actually, technically it does. It doesn't look right because it's not made for this type of footage, but let's just say apply grade to current node, and that's the look we got right here. So it doesn't look great because I made it for a different type of lighting and different type of setting, but that's like the film look we just created. It really isn't. I'm just dropping it on there so you can see what I'm talking about. But this is a perfect example. This was made. I'll show you what it was made for, actually. And you can kind of see. Let me go to my podcast and show you guys how that looks. So this is my podcast that I actually am bringing back this week. I believe we're doing that on Friday. Oh, I still got a comment. Let me check that real quick. I am from Berlin and doing short films and music video. I've been working Davinci for 3 to 4 years. Yeah, love it. Hey, that's awesome. Thanks so much for the comment. Yeah, I also, that's kind of what I started doing. Like music videos for sure is one of the first things I was doing. I don't do as many music videos anymore. Pretty much am only doing narrative work at this point. But yeah, I was doing a lot of commercials and music videos is what got me into it. And I started editing in Davinci Resolve either 2019 or 2020. I think it was 2019 that I started to switch from Adobe Premiere and switched over to Davinci Resolve. I do still edit in Premiere for my day job. I work for a media company, and I edit feature documentary films, and the company requires me to use Adobe Premiere. Otherwise, I would use Davinci Resolve, but I do color grade at that job in Davinci Resolve. I talked to them to let me do that. I was like, look, I can't color grade these films in Adobe Premiere. I'll edit them there, but you gotta let me color grade in it. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. So I was able to color grade all the films I do for them, and I'm able to use Davinci Resolve, thankfully. All right, so this is what that was made for. You can see here, and let me full screen that so you can get a full look. But yeah, so this is like the look, and it has like this it has a certain vibe that I like. This is it without it. It's nothing crazy, but you kind of see it kind of like cools it up a little bit, and gives it this kind of airy feeling that I was going for when I was doing this podcast. And for the lighting and natural light situation, it works good for all that. It looks cool here, but this is one of those situations where you might say, oh, I love how that podcast looks. I want my film to look like that. But you have to know the parameters of what that LUT was made for. And this is what I'm talking about, where I'm like, if you didn't make it, if it wasn't made for the use case that you need it for, you can't just slap it on. So this is a use case. If you looked at this and said, oh, this looks cinematic, or this looks like film, let me just grab the look from this and drop it on my footage. It's going to look great. Not necessarily. And as we can see, when we go back over to the other project, it does not look great. It actually looks pretty bad to me, because I don't want it to look like that. So maybe, someone else might feel differently, but let me go back to where I was. So yeah, I'm like, I was like, that's not the look I'm going for. So I'm like, this is not what I want. So that's showing you that it's more than just slapping a LUT on. So creating a film look is not just slapping on a LUT. Some things that go into determining a good film look could obviously it's a lot more that goes into it than just looking at a LUT and throwing it on. There's you have to look at the type of camera. You have to look at film stock. You have to look at type of film grain. You have to look at halation. There's like a lot of things that we're nostalgic for when we think about the film look that don't that one piece. They're like multiple pieces that make up a certain look or feeling that we remember that we want to create. And it also depends on what era of film you're looking for, what type of lenses it was shot on, even how it was lit, but there are some basic things that I know when you shoot on film, there's film grain you're going to have, but what type of speed was it? Is it like or what type of stock? Was it Fujifilm, or was it Kodak? How was it, printed? There's all these different things that go into it that may be hard to answer if you weren't a person who shot on film, but I still think that it's good to think about these things because it can help you really dial in what it is you're trying to create. And something that helps, in my opinion, is finding a look from a film that you like. And let's say you're like, okay, I'm shooting this project, but I want it to have this feeling. And that's something where like having a director's lookbook comes in play, and something that I actually made. And I probably should have pulled it up and showed it to you guys because it would have made sense for this, but we'll see if I can. I'm not even sure where that is. I'd have to find it. I should have thought about this ahead of time. But what I want to show you guys, one of the things that I like to do is I will actually find the film that I'm using as a reference and I'll look at it. And I actually just did this on another project. I just finished color grading a short film a couple of weeks ago for a client, and the director gave me the films that they were referencing. So what I like to do is I'll look those films up and I'll go to IMDb, and let me actually just kind of show you what I look for. I'll go into IMDb, and like, so for this film I did, let me see. I had a couple of different film references, and it doesn't mean you have to copy it exactly. And I already knew what I wanted to shoot, but I'm gonna kind of just what let me type in that film so I can remember what it was. It was yeah, here we go. So one of the references. So I'm just saying that because it's not that what I shot looks exactly like this, and that's not necessarily the goal. It's like you see elements that you like. But one of the examples that I had when I was creating my lookbook for this film was the film Past Lives. And I saw that I actually had not watched this film yet, and I'm planning to watch it probably this week. But I remember seeing the trailer for it, or I saw some images of it, one or the other, and I was like, "Oh, I really like how this looks." So this is the type of stuff I do, and this is the type of stuff I think when you're a filmmaker, you should be doing these types of things. If you're not looking up stuff and researching and finding ways to get better, that's part of the filmmaking process. Like when I was in film school, this is all we did. We would look up references, do things. I have my own notebook I have a cinematography background, so I created a whole notebook of like stills and images from films, and I would tag them different ways. Like, this is a close-up that I like, these are natural shots that I like, natural lighting shots. But anyways, I'm not gonna get too off topic. I can talk about that forever. But anyway, you kind of come here like, okay, you're just starting to see how this stuff looks, like, oh, I like how these things look, and you're like picking it apart. It's not just like, oh, let me grab some film grain. I can see film grain. There's more to that. Look at the lights. Look at the highlights. Look at the colors. Look at how their skin tone looks. You might not be able to pick it all apart because I can't. I don't know how to pick it everything in this apart just by looking at it. But then you can do research. It's like, okay, what film did they shoot on? What lens? But anyways, I say IMDb because I know that IMDb will have usually, it depends if they have it updated, but if you scroll down, you have all the information about the film, and you can find a part that says technical specs. So let me see, and hopefully it has it. I know this does because I looked it up. Okay, here we go. Tech specs. This is what I look for. And it may not always be the most detailed, but you can try to get as much information as you can. And you can also do Google searches and look things up. But this will have the list of cameras. So I see here they shot on the Panavision Panaflex Slight Weight 2. All right, cool. And you're in post-production at this point, so you're not looking at this to see like, okay, what camera do I need to shoot on? What lenses I need to shoot on? You're looking at it just to help you get a idea of the look DNA. That's what you're really trying to get. So I'm looking at that. I'm seeing the lenses. Okay, so if I really wanted to deep dive, I could look into these lenses, see if I can find articles, see if I can find people who did tests with them, so I can really understand the quality of those lenses. And again, if the footage you shot wasn't shot on that, you're not going to really be able to make it perfect, but it's just to get yourself in the realm of what makes up this look. What I usually come for, because this is what we can control with a caveat, depending on what you're using to create your film look, is I'll find a film like the negative format. So I'll see that it's shot on 35 mil. So what that tells me, I see that, I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna, whatever I'm using, I use Dehancer sometime, and then also I'll use the Film Look Creator and Davinci Resolve. So we're gonna be touching on some different things. You can get 35 millimeter film grain. Outside of that, there's packs. There's all types of ways for you to get your hands on different types of grain and things like that. So whatever method by which you do that, I'm okay. So it's 35 mil. Then you see Kodak Vision 3. I'm like, okay, so now I know what the film, what type of film it was shot on. We got Kodak Vision 3, 500T. So we got our speed here, 5219. So I'm like, all right, that helps me see that. Yeah, printed film format D cinema. And so some of these things we can't replicate per se, but gives me a good amount of it. So this is what's going to be the biggest part I look for is what type of film grain it was shot on. Like, 35 mil, 16, super 16, whatever, or super 8, whatever the case may be. And then what the film manufacturer was. Was it Kodak? Was it Fuji? Was it whatever? So then now I can take that into DaVinci Resolve and try to recreate this look or get close to it anyway. Like I said, there's a bunch of elements that go into it, but this to me is one of those really good things that I learned. I think it was from Kazi on YouTube. He did this and I was like, oh wow. So I've been doing that ever since then because it gives you good information and it's more than just guessing. You can actually literally see what people are doing. All right, so let's go ahead back over to DaVinci Resolve now. And let me switch back over. Get that. I'll check to see if we have any questions while I'm doing this. Okay. Okay, no comments so far, but if you have questions, let me know. But yeah, so that's like for me, it's the fun part. For some people, that might be the boring part, but these are the parts, like doing that is good because you can, really start to pull it apart and see what's under the hood of what you are inspired by. So another thing you can look at too is who was the colorist. You can find that from IMDb as well. I should have looked at it while I was there, but you can see the colorist and you could probably look them up and see other films they've done. Maybe you can find an interview with them, listen to their process, whatever you want to do. But yeah, so that's how we do that. So basically, using that knowledge, now I can do something where I'm like, all right, I can either try to find, let me see if DaVinci Resolve has maybe they have a built-in film stock that has that. And I don't think that they do, but it's just, for thought exercise. So that was Kodak. Was it 2383? Let me go back because I don't remember now if that was 2383. No, it was Kodak Vision 3 500T 5219. But if it was the same, that's how that theoretically would work. You would like, okay, this is the one. You can look it up and try to find it elsewhere too. DaVinci Resolve also has film grain built in, so you can find a film grain and, let me reset this node. Theoretically grab that, throw it on your film grain, and now you know what to put in. Now you don't have to put in 16 mil because we just looked at it and we saw it was 35 mil. So we can throw that, and you can go 200T, 400T. That makes it more, cleaner versus more noisy, essentially. And is it showing up? Yeah, you can see it right there. So that's the 35 mil. So we're getting there. And then you can, even with the grain, you can still adjust it. You don't have to get stuck to it. But, that's a good starting point. So you can tweak it now from this point. So that's one thing. I added film grain on. So does that mean our thing looks like film? Maybe for you, maybe that's all you wanted. You're like, okay, yeah, that's perfect. I just wanted to have a little bit of film grain. So I like how that looks. And I really do love how grain looks by itself. But there's more to it than just that. It does add a cool quality and cool characteristic. But we're not just doing that. We're trying to find the other elements as well. So I'm going to show you what I typically use. And I'm going to do it a couple different ways. But you have Film Look Creator. So let's start with that actually. If you have the paid version of DaVinci Resolve, you will have the Film Look Creator. If you don't have the paid version of DaVinci Resolve, then some of the other things I'll play with will be helpful to you because you can use these in the free version. Like using the LUTs, you can use that with the film grain. You wouldn't be able to per se. You wouldn't be able to use the film grain. Now, what's different about this is you can do presets. I can do a default 35, and but it has all these other looks already baked in. That's kind of why I don't love the film look creator. We've already done those conversions and things, so we can just leave it. But you could, set your cameras and all that stuff here. We don't need to do that for this. We already have it, how we want it. The core look is cinematic, so I can come in here and try to like play with that and stuff like that. But that's one of those reasons why I'm not a huge fan of this film look creator. Not because you can't get a nice looking image or you can't create something out of it, but you're kind of on your own. Like you have to like go in and just create a look. It's not really, you're not really able to say like, oh, I want to use the Kodak yada yada, whatever the Kodak Vision 3. Now you'd have to kind of just look at it and create on your own, which might be fine if you don't have a base reference that you're going off of. 100%, you can just start checking the boxes. You can say, yeah, let me use a cinematic one, and you can adjust skin bias and these other things. Put that back there. It just brings more of the skin tone out. The film look blend, so you can turn that on. It still even if you turn this off though, it still leaves the film grain in. But that's kind of like why I'm not a huge fan of it. But if you're a person who likes to go in and tweak things anyway, then this could be good for you. But it's not. You're making up your own thing. It's not really using a pre-existing look, if that makes sense. Again, nothing wrong with that, but you just are having to go in and create that. So we did a lot of different things. I mentioned halation and bloom before. Those are here too. So I actually really hate how this looks, and I know I'm just playing with it, but it's bothering the heck out of me. You can enable it, the halation, and I probably need to get something where it'd be easier for you to see it. But you can kind of see it in the eyes there. It's tweaking. It's better with the edges. I'm trying to get it so you guys can see what it's actually doing. This shot isn't great for it because usually hit like the highlights and stuff. Maybe in this shot it would come up better. Let me grab still, come over here and apply that. Gallery, apply grade. Let's see if the halation is showing up better over here. Give myself some more real estate. Yeah, I feel like the halation really doesn't pop up like that. Like I said, I'm not a huge, it's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not really a huge fan of the film look creator. It's usable, but like even this, I feel like I'm not really noticing, unless I'm missing something I forgot to click, but I'm not really noticing the halation effect like that. And that kind of is problematic. Because that's one of the things that I really like about film is halation. So the fact that that's not really coming across. Let me mess with the radius. Okay, there it is. Even still, I feel like it could be better, but okay, I think I can see it here a little bit more. No. I'm trying to give the film creator a chance here, but I'm about to move off of this because I'm not really a fan of it, no way. But you can kind of see like here, you might not be able to see this on YouTube that well, but it is doing a little something with the halation. I hate to give this thing a bad review if it's me messing it up, but I'm really trying to push it to get it, and it's it's limited. Like if you just need something quick and there's no particular like film stock you're trying to recreate and you just want to have something, I think it's fine. I think it's definitely a fine way of doing it, especially if you don't have another third in. Especially if you don't have a third party plugin, like go for it 100%. I'm not the biggest film look creator. Like I said, it depends on the use case. If I'm not trying to go for a heavy look, obviously I'm not going to use this because I don't feel like it's doing anything. And I probably wouldn't even try to mess with Bloom for real. Bloom's doing a little something. If I just want like a subtle look, I probably would, throw this. I'm trying to give it a chance, y'all. But I really don't care for this and the way this is looking on the footage, to be honest with you. But you can play with different things. Okay, well, anyways, it is what it is. But that's the film look creator. That's one way of doing it. But again, like I was showing you before, you had the ingredients that you could play with. But to really dial into how I do it and what I feel, I don't really want to say it's more pro per se, but for how I like to work, I want, for one, more control than that gave me. And that's why I use Dehancer. So with Dehancer, I can kind of go in. I'm going to just leave it. I could do it like that too. We are in ACES. So I could put it there. Choose camera. ACES CCT AP1. Oh, that's cool. Because I'm in ACES. Or Davinci, I'm intermediate. Yeah, so you can kind of put it in wherever you're working, X709, whatever the case may be. I'll tweak that in a second. We can compare on and off it. But yeah, Kodak, here we go. First thing that popped up. Now let's go back to where I was at. And we're looking, for those who just popped on, we're looking at the technical specs for Past Lives, which was one of the references I had in my director's lookbook when I was creating the idea for my cinematographer for what I wanted this film to look like. So yeah, 35mm Kodak Vision 3, 500T, 5219, which I don't know, that's an option I can select and Dehancer or not, but we'll just mess with it and see what we get. So yeah, Kodak Vision 3, so already looking good. Yes, they have 500T. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that on. All right, cool. I'm just curious to see something. If I switch this to interesting. Okay, yeah, but I wouldn't want to do that because I'm gonna leave it here. That's fine. Yeah, so we got that. So we got the first level. So we have our film and profile. And that's not even talking about the film grain per se. That's just, and I don't mess with exposure and all that stuff here. I do that in the nodes. But if we come back down to film, you have all these different options. So film developer. So again, you can tweak it like you can with the film look creator, but you can already see we have so many more options. For one, when they had like that little profiles that they had was just things that they made up. What I like about Dehancer and probably other, film emulation third-party plugins, I haven't used any other ones other than Dehancer, so I can't speak to them. But assuming that they're similar to Dehancer, they actually are like throwing in different film profiles to match those film stocks that existed. So you have all these different ones. You have the ones from Fuji, so you can kind of just go in and choose. And it's so many more options. I think we had like 5, maybe 6 options on the other one. But this gives us so many more. So that's one of the reasons why I like it. And these programs can cost a lot. I do have I think I have a discount code somewhere. See if I can. I'm not sure if it still works, but I can try to drop that if you guys want to try it out. But then again, I can say, I actually don't like how that looks on here, but I do. So, because like I said, I shot for that in mind when I was when we were shooting this. So 500T works for me. And just first rip, you kind of look at it. It's not like exactly like the reference. I don't have one picture per se with me. Like I said, I wish I had pulled up my lookbook, but I didn't think to do that ahead of time. How do I get back to the images? The photos. But like, it's just this warm like quality to it that I was going for. And the fact that it was shot on 500T makes sense, T being for tungsten, because it's going to give you a warmer type of look. And they may have swapped the film stocks out at different moments. I don't know. Maybe they shot on one the whole time. But that's just what we saw from from IMDb. But again, color grading, you still can tweak things. So if I wanted to cool it off, I can. I'm not stuck with that. That's just the starting point. But I really do love how this looks. And obviously, if you can shoot on film, go for it. But for those of us who may not have access to it, that's why I love. I think film emulation third-party plugins are like the next best thing, because even though they can be expensive, I think like a couple $100 is still cheaper than buying a whole film camera and learning how to shoot on film. Okay, we're just getting a bunch of random non-set pictures now. Get back to the set. Get back to the film. Here we go. Okay. But yeah, so anyway, we're going to go ahead and come out of there. We don't need to stay on that. I'm just getting lost looking at that because I like how that film looks. But anyway, back to here. So what was something else? We know that I shot on 35, so now I can go over to my film grain. I said, all right, 35, ISO 250. So this can affect our, I guess, noise level. If you think about like you're shooting ISO on your camera, and the higher you go with your ISO, the noisier it gets. The more, digital noise you get. It's similar with like how this is reading the film grain. Like if I want it to be cleaner or less, noisy with the grain. I mean, we do want grain. I can do something like 35, 50. And you can kind of see that it's like, oh, it's a little net-esque. And like, I'll show you an example. So if you go all the way down to 8 mil, that's like the largest, most out there boom grain pattern you have. But this is like the things that are different, because it's like we're not just relying on slapping film grain on. And you might like this look. That's not what I was going for. I didn't want it to just look like I threw a film grain on top of it. I want it to feel like natural. And for me, I was like, this is, even though I wanted 35 mil, I wanted it what they said. I was like, that just feels way too much. Like I don't care for how that looks. So what I decided to do, I think on the actual grade I did, was I went to 65, and you see how at least for this shot anyway, it's a lot less noise going on. I keep saying noise, but it's still film grain in there, because you can look and see it's still there, but it's a lot cleaner. And even if you go to 65 mil 500, the pattern gets more. So think of it at like smaller the number. It's like how I look at it being like ISO. So 65, I was like, all right, cool. And then again, even if you didn't want that, you can adjust the amount of it too. You don't have to live with that. I can pull it down more and just have it basically very minimal too. So I think it started at 10. So it's so heavy-handed, so you can definitely pull it down a lot. So you get like the ability to dial in the look you want. So if you wanted 35 still, let's do 250. I can bring it down like that. So, and and I realized actually I never paid any attention, but the amount is actually jumping on here, so you can kind of see they're telling you amount of grain is actually like 70%, and you can actually do it that way too, which is actually kind of cool. I think that's how that's reading it. I've never paid any attention before. I'm just now noticing they give you that visual cue. And then 500, let's see, 65, 50 is 10. Okay, cool, interesting. So yeah, so you can even dial it in more and just be more of a custom type of a look. But anyway, then you have halation, which doesn't start on, let's go ahead and pull that back down. Okay. Enable halation. And with the halation, you can even play with this, which gives us more options as well than we did, because it gives us different profile types. So you have 8, and you can see, and this is probably why it wasn't that noticeable, because it just was whatever they wanted, whatever they made it. But you can see that's a lot more noticeable than we had it before with the Film Look Creator. but you have different profiles. So I can choose from how halation would look on Super 8. They say no rim jet. 16, Super 16. So you can really just kind of play with it. So if I want it to be super heavy, I can do that. And I think I should be able to see it in her eyes some more too. Let's go to around here in the eye. Yeah. It just gives a nice little golden kind of quality to it. So let's just go up here. Also adds to that like warmth that we were wanting. So, you can kind of play with that. And again, you can adjust the amount. And then if you go mask mode, I believe it'll show you those elements. You have to have elements in the scene that it like really shows up. That's one thing, because it really affects the highlights. So if we had like sunlight and things like that, it would really pop, or a lot of brighter images. But it's doing something. You can see right there on and off. It's even affecting the color, which I actually like. Bloom is not enabled, but you can enable your bloom. It just kind of like lifts or softens, I say. Think about it kind of like if you put like a pro mist filter on, or have like a pro mist filter effect. I know it's different, but that's just kind of what it puts me in mind of. But it kind of like the brighter parts are just kind of getting smoothed out some, giving it this lighter, airy feel, which is probably something I definitely had on there. I'm recreating this from scratch. I did create an actual LUT for myself for this film. Film breathe. So this is another characteristic. Like it'll actually kind of like move a little bit. Usually I don't put that on because I feel like that's a little bit over the top. But like you'll see it like actually like the shot will be like kind of moving and stuff like that. And I didn't really care for that. Like you can see like this discoloration was kind of jumping around some when I had this on. And that's probably like a actual, characteristic you might see in some film, but I didn't want that. I was like, yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. Gate weave, you have a lot of different other options. But those two, I don't really use that I don't really mess with that one, those too much. And then you also have a vignette that they have built in, but I also will use the vignette that's inside of Davinci Resolve. But this one isn't bad though. It has a cool look to it. It's like very soft and almost kind of minimal, but you can also, make it more. You can turn on the feathering of it and you can adjust it that way, adjust size, exposure. You can make it darker. So, you have a lot of things, but just so that one is solved, that's what I'm saying. You really can do a lot of the heavy lifting of your look inside of Dehancer. That's why I give the edge to Dehancer over Film Look Creator, in my opinion. And look at that. They even have false color built in. If you saw my other my other live streams, I was talking about false color. They even have false color built in, and they have a clipping indicator. Was that on the false color? I don't know why it's not showing up. But anyway, I guess nothing's clipping, so maybe that's why. But yeah, anyway, don't worry about all that. That's, the DNA or the makeup. So I feel like I want to make sure I covered that, because I wanted to make sure that I got that point across, because that's one of the things I feel like people miss a lot when we're talking about the film look. And even when people are explaining it, sometimes I think they just say, here's how you get the film look. And there's nothing wrong with that, because people are just showing how they do it. But I want to more so show you guys so you can see it for yourself and not just relying on someone's. And I'm still going to do more color grade even tonight. I'm going to actually do it so you can see what I do. But I want you guys to be able to take it for yourselves and really think like, okay, think constructively about this. How do I get the look I'm looking for? And if you have a reference, that's one of the easiest ways to go about it. All right. We talked about things that make up a film look, like the type of camera, the film stock, the grain, halation, bloom, how to find those things. We've talked about going to, I like to go to IMDb to find that information. Look up your favorite films and find what film stock it was shot on. I'm just reading my notes so I can make sure I stay on track. Find out the camera, even the lenses is good too. And like I said, something I don't do that much, but you could even look up the colorist who color graded that film, because that can give you some information too. If you're a popular cinematographer and you have a lot of materials out there, a lot of information out there about how they do things, that's perfect, because you can literally listen to what they're talking about. Especially if they use Davinci Resolve or a program that you use, then if you find that they say, "Oh, I like to do this with my primaries, and I always, do this," you can get their philosophy and copy what they do. So yeah. So now we can actually go into how I go about doing this. I'm gonna kind of touch my go-to node structure, and we'll do some before and after looks and things like that. So let's go back to this shot and actually do the creative part, the part that YouTubers always show you when they're skipping all this beforehand information. Before I do that, though, one thing I do want to show, I feel like it'd be important to show this, is when you're using some of the looks, the film looks that are built into DaVinci Resolve, and this is something to take into consider. This will help you when you're using any type of LUT. Make sure you have the right information about that LUT. And what I mean by that is make sure you know what the DNA or the bones of that LUT is, so that way you can make sure you're getting the proper image, that you're seeing the proper image as it was intended. Excuse me 1 second, I'll take a drink of water. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna just hop in to show you one I like to use a lot. And we're gonna go with the Rec 709 Kodak 2383 D55. Now I'm gonna grab this LUT, I'm gonna throw it on the center one. And you might look at that and think, okay, cool, I guess we're done. And it's not that it's technically wrong, because that's not how it's supposed to be set up. But basically, this LUT is not made to go on top of just like random like log footage per se. You need to put it into you gotta make sure it's in the right color space. In this particular LUT, these LUTs that they have in here require Synanon log. So you have to make sure that you put it in the correct color space. So what I'm gonna do is get this set up properly first. And let's see, how do I want to do this? I'll do my conversion for, yeah, we'll convert. Okay, so I'm gonna just grab a LUT and make it easy. We don't have to go through the whole conversion situation. So I know the camera I shot on, like I said before, is the XC3. Eterna is probably the profile I used. So this LUT is a technical LUT. So this is how you properly use it. This is log footage we're looking at. It's not, this is log footage. It's not corrected properly or anything like that. But you can either do ACES, you can use CSTs, however you want to do it, to basically tell DaVinci Resolve this is this type of footage, and we're taking it out of its log state, and we want it to be in this color accurate space for Rec 709. But I'm just going to go ahead and drop this LUT on that takes it from XT3 log to Rec 709, and there you go. Just like that, we're good. That worked like it was supposed to, because that was the proper that footage had the proper criteria for that. And I know that looks right, because I know what it looks like. That's what it looked like when we shot it on set. So now I want to add on this Synanon look. This is converted properly. So this is our Rec 709. This is our F log. I'm just writing this all out. This is not usually how I do it, but I'm doing it so you guys can see what I'm doing. F log to Rec 709. Conversion done there. Now this is going to be our I'll say our DR for DaVinci film LUT. Oh, what is it? I'll just say what it is. Kodak film looks. We're gonna start. Wait, Kodak 2383. So I'm gonna just say 2383. 2383 is a popular one. So as you are, if you're new to film if you're new to color grading, 2383. This is probably going to be one you hear a lot of about. You might find a lot of creative LUTs that people make for they give you the 2383, and that's what they're talking about is that Kodak 2383, which is a popular film look LUT that probably everybody uses it. And they have three different, I guess you can call it, flavors of it: D55, D60, D65. And the way I look at that anyway is it's kind of like, think about like color balance in a sense. So like, like color temperature. So like 5500 Kelvin, 6,000 Kelvin, 6,500 Kelvin. That's how I think about it, because that's how it kind of operates when you look at it. But I'm gonna show you the process of how I would go about using this. This LUT I reserved for our Synanon, how you spell it? Conversion. I don't have to spell all this out. So already said Rec 709. So let's go ahead and grab. I think you can do it a couple of different ways. I'm gonna grab I guess really you couldn't, because I don't think Aces has it. So we're gonna need to use the color space transform tool. You can type it in or just look for it. Color space transform. And then we'll just leave everything because we already did our conversion here, so that's fine. We just need to turn this into, we want to find Synanon film log. And then that made it go log again. So this is what Synanon log looks like, which is the ingredient that we need essentially to make this 2383 LUT look right. So actually, let me turn it off. And I did that. Rec 709 Kodak, which this is going to put in Rec 709 when it's done, but it needs another element. So let me just drop this on so you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to link the video because if I got something from somebody, I like to give them their credit. And I figured out how to do this properly from a very specific YouTuber. So I'm going to drop their link in the video to give them their credit. And let me finish this and then I'll do it. 2383. So, and like one thing people would say is like, oh, that's heavy. Like that looks kind of like, it's kind of too contrasty. And then so you might come over to like your key and then like try to like change the output. So like turn it down and like, oh, okay, well that looks better now. And kind of like you mess with the opacity. And that may not be the worst thing in the world to do, but it's still not proper. Like you can do that, but you're not really getting the full effect of what this film LUT is doing. This creative LUT is doing. You're missing out because you're just making it like less visible. So it's like, okay, so this is what we needed to do the step before. Put it into the Synanon. I spelled that wrong anyway. Yeah, I spelled that. Syneon. That's it, Synanon. Syneon film log. And I'll turn this on. And then, hold up. I messed this up. I did this wrong. Hold up. Sorry, guys. I'll put color space is what I need to do. That's same as timeline. That's why it's good to check yourself. Sometimes you can easily throw yourself off. Where am I at? No, that's not right. No, I was right before. Hold on. Bear with me for 1 second as I get my... Hold on, reset that. Syneon film. There we go. Well, this is looking weird. Something feels off about this. I need to figure out what it is. Okay. No, I remember. Okay, so yeah. So we have it on now. Then now it has a very strong look. So it's doing what it's supposed to do. It is a very heavy look. But let me just kind of swap it out to these other ones so you can see what the colors are. And you can see it kind of gets like cooler. But I like the warmer tone. But that's like, and it actually that works for all of these. If you want to kind of like go through and see all these different other looks as well, you can do that. Put that back on though. Now, this is the other step that I do. I will grab both of these because sometimes you might still say, okay, well, that's still a little bit, heavy. I don't fully like how bright that makes it look. And again, you can tweak this too. This is what this does. That doesn't mean you have to be stuck with it, because you can then go through and tweak the exposure, bring your exposure down and things like that. But let's just say, you had all your exposure dialed in pretty much how you liked it. You put this on. So if you want to tone it down, something you can do is grab those two and then make a compound LUT. I said compound LUT, a compound node. And now if you want to tweak the gain to bring down the look, you can, but it's not affecting the LUT characteristics. It's just bringing down its how much it's coming through. Kind of like when we were in the film look creator, you can kind of show how much of it you want. It's not like turning down the overall elements, but you can see it just looks different. So it has a different quality. So you say, okay, it's more subtle what it's doing. It feels better. So let me grab a still of this so I can actually show you guys. That's fine. I'll throw it in there. It's not. Oh, that's 5 grade stills. Let me make a new one. Grab a still of that. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to what I had before. Decompose compound node. Get rid of this and see how that looked, and then do the same type of thing. It's definitely handling it differently, so that's not accurate. So we saw what accurate looks like, and I'll apply it, and then you can, because I made the compound node, now when you adjust your output, you can go way lower if you want to, but it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing with this shot. And again, you don't have to do that, because I could list this add a node. Let's just say add a node, and then this one I'm doing like, I don't know, some basic adjustments and things. I could just mess with the exposure or something. You can tweak things like that. So again, you have different options of how you do things. You don't have to do everything exactly the way I'm doing it. It's just giving you the overall idea. Like when you bring a LUT in, you don't have to get stuck to what they did. You can play with it and tweak it, but you wanted to at least make sure you're getting what it's supposed to do, so that way you can make accurate changes and it's not like you're just guessing. So like I said, if this is too heavy for you, too bright, you don't really like how that looks, you can play with this. But again, you're not stuck to that. You like certain characteristics of it, but you can go tweak it. It's okay, I like how it did this, but I want a little bit more contrast or something. So you can add more contrast and play with things like that. But I'm going to go ahead and clear that out and reset our grade. I just wanted to kind of show you guys how you would go about doing it. And there's a way to, like I said, I'm going to link the video right now, actually, before I forget to do that. I'm going to drop it in the chat. Let me go ahead and pull that up really quick. While I'm doing this. But yeah, that's not usually how I use that, but I just wanted to show you guys, for those of you who may not have the paid version, or you don't have a plugin like I used, you can use the film LUTs, but that's the proper way to do them. And you can get the information from, and you can find out what the LUT needs by looking at its properties. I'm just grabbing this link for you guys really quick. I'm going to drop it in the chat. All right, let's see. I'll go ahead and drop this. Davinci Resolve LUTs. Let's say how to use Davinci Resolve LUTs. How to use. like I said, I like to give people credit from where I got. If I got your video, if I found out something from someone specifically, I want to give them their credit. But I just dropped into the chat. But anyways, we're gonna get back to what we were talking about. So let me switch back over. All right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and go into my process now. I like to work in ACES. Let me see if I have that over here. I do have my ACES workflow. Perfect. So go ahead and apply my grade. So this is my my workflow that I created. So I'm trying to give myself a little bit more real estate here. Okay, this is the node tree structure that I've pre-built that I use for when I'm doing projects and things like that. When I'm using this certain, is working because I'm doing it for this specific footage. So this is one I made for F-Log, and I already did all my conversions in it and things like that. It's super easy to make a node tree. Basically, once you make a node tree, all you have to do is click over on your image, right click, and hit grab still. And once you've done that, the still will populate over here. I have it in my power grade, and I can name it whatever I want to name it. So I can say I did. This is my ACES node, my ACES node tree. And this one specifically, like I said, is for F-Log footage. So you can, this one specifically is for F-Log, for Fujifilm F-Log footage, but you can make it for S-Log, Canon log, whatever the camera is or whatever the case may be, or you can always plug that in later. But anyway, so everything's already preset. I did my ACES color, I did my ACES transform, so Fujifilm F-Log, ACES CC to okay, yeah, CCT over, I messed that up. So CCT over, and then my next couple of notes here, I have my exposure. Again, this is not right or wrong, it's just how you would prefer to work. Exposure, contrast, balance is my first things I like to touch. Then I'll go into, I love using the color slice tool. So I have color slice here. I create like a little, like my version of a Pro Mist filter, and I can control the output of that. But basically, I'm just like, feathering out the highlights, making them kind of blurry in a sense, which I guess is kind of a filmic type of quality. And then my look. So if it's a specific look that I'm creating, I drop that here. And then I go back out to the 709. Then we're done. So I do everything in a specific pipeline in between. So that's how that works. All right. So what I would do in this situation is, like I said, the first thing I need to do for me, we did a pretty good job on set. So it's not a lot of things I need to change. So, let's just hop into it. I love working with my color wheels in ACES because I'm used to how that works. But exposure, if I wanted to bring it up some. Something else I wish I had added to this that is not on there, but I'm going to add now is, let's slide this over. I'm going to add a false color one. Like I said, that's something I wish I would have already had that I did not have before, but it's something that I have started to add into my projects, and I definitely suggest it. But you can do creative and then do your own. Color temperature, hold on, exposure guide. Is this the one I used? 10 bands. And you can kind of you definitely can go in and tweak it however you want it to be. And you can change the quality of it, change the colors, processing, gamma. It's a lot of things you can adjust to it because it'll kind of affect how that looks. So I'll change the gamma because this being bright like that kind of throws me off sometimes. So I need to see a little bit more information. Then you can also go into your global blend and mess with that too. Sometimes that helps to see things better. I like to do that because it kind of just helps me see this is so washed out looking to me, so it's hard for me to read what I'm looking at. So I have to bring it down so that way I can see that that's red, and I can see these colors way more prominently. But false colors I love working with because it's just easy, especially like when you're working with like directors and cinematographers and directors. They may ask you, there's a lot going on in this scene, and sometimes I get asked, okay, what exposure is her face at? And in this case, it's easy to tell for me because I can look at my waveform and see that, what's moving is this middle section is her face. But if he was like, if he or she was like, okay, what side, where's this at, exposure wise, I'm like, trying to figure that out. And it's like, I don't really know how to tell you what this is from here. I know her face, the brightest part is hitting up to about 80. But that's why I like doing this, because I can see, I'm like, all right, so the key side of her face, the brighter side, here on this particular scale anyway, we see some of it, a lot of the pink that we're getting is right up in here. We got some gray there, some brighter parts here. And you can kind of get a feel. So like overall on her face, I'm like, all right, so we're getting some stuff that's here in the 60, going up a little bit higher than that. Nothing seems to be over 70 though. There's darker gray there. This side's a little bit of the pink, but darker gray. So I can see, okay, so that's pretty much here, 50. So if that's the range we want to be in, we know we're good. And we would have established, like, what range we're trying to have. So, you click, so you see that, and like, okay, cool. In the middle of her face is here. So that's the, the shadow part. A lot of that's where all this is, where that's happening. We get a little backlight that's kicking. So that's what we're getting that other light from. So I'm like, okay, cool. So then, yeah, we know we're good. And I knew it was fine just from looking at it before. I can tell it's not overexposed. Like I said, we did a good job on set of making sure everything was in a good spot. Shout out to my cinematographer, Sage Thomas, on this one. But yeah, so she did a good job with exposure. Nothing's like overexposed, which is good. That happens a lot. It happens a lot. So I'm glad nothing was overexposed. She did a good job. But anyway, we're good. I'm happy with how that looks. So I'm looking at it like, nothing exposure wise I really want to tweak. Maybe when I get into like, once we've started cutting this more, I'm like, actually I want this darker. And I got room to do that. I definitely have room to do that. So let's just play with that a little bit and make it a little bit, and color balance, again, such a good job on set. In the Fuji colors, my gosh, you really don't have to do much. I really do like Fujifilm having used Sony cameras. And Sony is really good quality. Sonys are awesome cameras. They really are. But sometimes skin tones, my gosh, I'm always fighting skin tones in S-Log footage. So I really don't have to do anything. This image out the box is really good, to be honest with you. So I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. I'm cool on that. So maybe contrast, you can do contrast however you want. You can do a curve, go with S curve, play with it, go editable splines. But I love to be simple, so I can create a curve, But a lot of times, I feel like a lot of colorists are going to do. You'll see most of them do this type of stuff. Nothing at all in the world wrong with that. Really is not. And I actually kind of like how that looks. No lie. Reset that. That actually looks kind of cool. But actually looks really cool. But sometimes what I'll do, I'll reset that, is I'll just go to the contrast wheel over on the primaries and just play with that too. So, but I actually liked how the custom curves was doing things, but it's also playing with exposure and things like that. But I actually kind of like the exposure a little bit lower. So let me go back to, I like to do it on HDR. Bring the light down a little bit, and let me just bring the shadows down. I'm getting quiet. That's how you can tell I'm locking in. I gotta bring my volume back up. Something like that. just brings it a little bit of extra. I really do like the almost like milky type of look. Again, we did such a good job of dialing in the look on set, so I'm not at all mad at what we got. I'm just kind of playing with things right now. Let's see. Color slice. I love the color slice tool. It's one of my favorite tools because you can get, it's an easy way for me to mess with color density, and color density is one of those things that I think get missed too. I don't want to say gets missed, but something you should think about too is like look at how film, when you're looking at different things, sometimes a lot of times with different movies in general, like when you see cinematic grades, a lot of times you'll see stuff that doesn't necessarily look super realistic, or things are compressed to certain elements. So it's like you get good color separation. So like here with the green, which is probably gonna be reading on the yellow track, just from my experience. You have your saturation, which this is, and you have your color density, which this is. I might want to pull that saturation down some. And I bet you it's in yellow. Yep, always in yellow. Green and yellow sometimes, if it's a lighter green, sometimes it will read yellow. But you can do color density, which I love, without messing with the saturation, because maybe you don't want it to look like it's dead or lifeless, which doesn't look bad either. And honestly does kind of give it a little bit of separation. I might pull it down a little bit. And then you just kind of darken that some. And that right there actually does a little bit to separate her, because it's like our eyes aren't kind of like going that, and like boom. And I have something else I want to try to add another node. I skipped color balance. All this is correcting, like if the image is not like properly balanced, like if it's too warm or something, or like the colors may be off. I've said it a million times, but we did such a good job on set of getting this locked in, and I'm gonna tell you, it's good. It's kind of, it can be rare. Like I'm telling you, you'd be surprised how often things are not looking how they're supposed to look on a film set. Even when people are professional, sometimes things can get missed. But if I wanted to kind of like tweak the color temperature to get it to be a certain spot, usually I'm doing this for correction. I'm not usually doing this for like look creation. But if you knew you wanted this to have more of a, like, I don't know, Fight Club green-ish type vibe, you could do that. That's not what I'm going for with this film. But you can kind of like, oh, I want her skin to be cooler or something. You could kind of play with it there. There's a bunch of ways to do it, but I like to set my balance to I like to set this node to linear. I go to gamma, and then I go to linear, and then that makes this work in more of a linear. I think photometric is what Cullen Kelly calls it. That's where I got it from. Cullen Kelly on YouTube. He's really good pro colorist. If you want to warm it up, you can do that. So it's you have a lot of different options. I'm not going to do that with that, because I don't need to, or don't really want to. But yeah, so color slice. Now with this, if I'm doing a lot of different things, or we need to be precise about stuff, I will make multiple nodes for this, but I'm gonna just do everything on one node. But that's just so that way I can like really like lock in. Say, okay, well, this one's for skin tone or whatever. So for example, her skin's probably, there's a skin tone track here, but it doesn't. It depends on the person. It may or may not show up there. So, but yeah, her skin is right there. So let's just say you're like, there's too much color, and I know my actress Leah would. She always jokes that she's so pale, so she would not say that there was too much color in her skin. But I don't know. Maybe you're going for some Tim Burton type skin tones, and you want the people to look pale like that. Or what was that other movie that came out with Emma Stone, where she was like this creature that came to life? I can't remember what that was called. But you want this person, you're doing something stylistic, some Sin City type vibe, something. I don't know what you're doing. There you go. That's a way of doing it. But again, we're going for more of a naturalistic vibe. But if you felt like it was like too much red in her skin, easily get it out right there. Maybe a little bit, or if you want to mess with the density, make where her lips are a little bit darker, you can just on off that. It's up to you. One of the colors, the blue is really punchy in this. Blue is another one. You can kind of see it, her blue blouse right here. If I wanted to, it's not neon, but it's pushing to it. I don't want my colors standing out that much. I want them to stand out, but I don't want it to be that like attention grabby, if that makes sense. So I just kind of dial it down a little bit. And that's something that kind of, again, helps with that film cinematic vibe where colors aren't oversaturated. They're still there, and that's like the density is not pulling the saturation out. It's just, almost like making it darker, but it's just, adding some like density to the image. I feel like that's a really good thing to play with a lot when you're doing film. So yeah, we did that. What would a film look be without some nice power grades? I did not build this node tree for this, and I don't really need to do it, but I want to show you guys. Well, I have one particular one, so this is kind of a special one. So let's treat it like how we did. I should do this. This is like for color, and then this is for like our lens type option. So almost like in post, in a sense, like we put this is our lens filter. So imagine this is our lens filters, and I'm going to make this one a little bit more prominent, just so you can see how now it's glowing. That's what it's doing when it's fully there. We're going to pull that back some more. So I don't need to glow like that, but we do want to give it. I want to kind of give it somewhat of that dreamy Hollywood type vibe. A little bit. I know it definitely brightened our image up, but it's cool. I'm going to call this a blur, and I don't really know what type of blur. If there's with the lens filter, what that would be. We'll do like a radial blur of some sort. Let me see. You have this blur. I guess I could just do it this way. What I'm gonna do is just draw a mask, power window around her, and keep it simple. This is one of my favorite and least favorite things to use. I might always constantly using these things, and you might as well get used to using them, because if you're going to be color grading on any level, you will be using power windows. Sometimes for cool stuff, sometimes to fix stuff you don't really want to have to fix. Again, now I could do this. I have a couple of different ideas. I just need to stay focused, because now I'm starting to get some different ideas what I want to do. But let's just go ahead and invert. So once you have it selected, whatever power window or mask option you chose, there's these two boxes that you have here. This one with the square and the circle in the middle is inverse the mask. And if you hit Shift H, you can see what's in gray is being excluded. And then if I was to go back, what's in gray is being excluded. But I inverted it, so I don't want her face getting affected by this. Basically, I'm bringing more attention to her and moving it away from the background. And we're feathering the heck out of it, because we want it to look natural. So now we go to blur, and there's different things you can do. I'm just using this one right here. Okay, it's doing something just so subtle. I might end up using a different one, because sharpen, mist. What is on blurry? Oh, you can. Well, anyways, go back to blur. That's super. Let me make sure this is feathered out. So yeah, I try to feather it so that way it's not like a hard. I blur like crazy, and that's cool, but I wanted it to be a little more weird, otherworldly, kind of like dreamlike. So I don't really care for how its built-in one did. So I'm gonna go back to blur and reset that. I'm going to use the radio. Oh, actually, zoom blur might do it. We'll play with it. We will audition a few. So you see how this one is working. That's more of what I wanted, was more that swirl pattern, and then you can just do different things. So yeah, I wanted it more of this, more of that look. So it looks super crazy over the top, but they have lenses that do things like this, which you can do it obviously in post as well. So that looks pretty cool. So if we obviously on off, that's log, and then boom, that's the look what we got so far. And I have not even gotten to the film look portion of this yet. So we're just in the color grading part of it. But we're looking good. Let's just do a quick little step by step. We added this blur, take that off. Take off the pro mist, take off the color. And these little changes add up. So this is what we went to before, and I was like, oh, this is great. I don't need to change anything, which I still feel like it looks fine, it looks good. But we're just, now we're playing, we're painting, we're creating, we're doing storytelling, we're creating drama, we're creating imagery, we're, creating a look. I call this look because I'm not always trying to make a film look per se, but you can put that, whatever the look is you're trying to create. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and grab the one that I like to use, which is Dehancer. Like I said earlier in the video, I showed you the other ones. I showed you like Film Look Creator and other ways you can do it and things like that. Alrighty, so I do want to see. Let me just check something. Oh, because you do Cineon film with that too, which is pretty cool. I might try something with that later. All right, so we had Kodak Vision. Was it 500T? Yeah. And you do see, like, however you do it, like if you change the, source, it will affect it. So, I'm messing with this one now. So I'm just kind of experimenting with different things, just seeing what they look like. But you can choose the camera. Let's say I could choose Fujifilm. Trying to figure out which one I shot on. But again, I'm not putting in straight up log footage like that. So that's why it's like, you can do Rec 709. In this case, I did send it to ACES, so it's in ACES still. So I guess I could just do this. I haven't tried it in this way, but I think that would be fine actually. But it does wash it out. So we're figuring this out on the fly with this one because I haven't used it in this way before. All right, print, you can leave it linear, or you can change it. So I'm going to go with the Kodak 2383, like I told you guys before, just to play around with that. That is the one area where I'd have to look at if I'm trying to stay true to what our source was. But I usually like how glossy it looks, to be honest with you. I usually Kodak Endura glossy paper. Then, like I said, you have these different ones to choose from. Kodak 2383, but they don't have. Kodak 2383 has such a washed, I'm not going to say washed, it has such a very specific type of look that looks cool in certain situations, but it's not necessarily what I'm going for this. I do want it to still have like this warm tone to kind of go to what we were going for before. So I either would probably go linear or go with the Kodak Endura glossy paper. And then I know that you can play with this stuff too, if you want to get in there and tweak some things. like push it more yellow, more blue, and you can also separate them so you can get them individually. If there's a certain hue you're going for, I want a little bit more yellow, whatever the case may be. So, they do give you a lot of control, but I like that it's it gives you, I don't think you lose any control, like in terms of comparing this to the film look creator. I feel like this does what the film look creator, it gives you the same freedom the film look creator gives you, but then you can also kind of lock yourself into certain looks as well. So I mean, I give Davinci Resolve props for making their own version of it, but I don't think that it's better than Dehancer. It's just good to have since you got it if you paid for Davinci Resolve Studio version. But yes, now we get the film look in here. We get the film grain. That's what I meant to say. Contradicting myself. And something I noticed though is that it does look very different based on, like, if you do a Rec 709, it has a certain look that it has. But if you do, because I'm working in ACES, most times when I've used this, I've done it in Rec 709. So seeing it in ACES, I'm actually learning something new on the fly, that it actually is adjusting how the grain pattern even looks, which is cool. I actually like that it does that. So definitely something to look out for. Make sure that you're putting in the proper source. Like, it's asking you what's coming in, and like, yeah, Rec 709 isn't coming in technically. Technically, ACES is coming in because that's the last conversion we did. So the fact that it has it is cool. All right, so we got that 35 mil, and like I said, if you want to, you can go. If you want it to be even cleaner, I love how that looks. 65 500 versus the 35. 35 is really good though. Like, this is literally the look I think that we were kind of going for from our reference photo, more so. Oops. Let's go back to the earlier images, like this one or something. Like, that grain is there. You see, you see it. I'm always not a fan of it personally. Like, I'm like, I want a little bit less. Like, when I get kind of nervous about going super heavy with grain, so I tend to lean more so for less. So I will go for more of a 65 mil, or I'll go for super clean, like for a super clean, like, let me show you what I mean. Like, versus like a super clean ISO. So instead of 35 500, I might go 35 ISO 50, and it cleans up that, I say clean it up, but it's less noise per se. But we're gonna go for it. Like, I think in the final, like I say final, I'm not done with this project, but the look that I kind of settled on that I was liking, I went for, I think, the 65, because I just felt like it was still the texture, but it felt cleaner to me. Halation, enable it, because I love me some halation, and you can see it, like, just the brighter parts of the image, like, it just kind of like warms it up. And then usually, like you'll notice it on the, like if I had like a bright lamp or something in here, or something like the sun, like, you see on edges of things. A lot of times it's people's eyes, depending on how the light's hitting it. The light isn't hitting her directly like that in this shot, but you can also make it more extreme. So you look on the edge here, so you can really see it. In this, I say, to me, Dehancer blows the Davinci Resolve film look creator out of the water on this, because we were playing with it before and I felt like I was barely seeing it. But it's because you can kind of really go in and choose these different options, so you can really see what the halation is doing there. And then it says, like, amplify. I can pull it down some if I wanted to create that look. It depends on how crazy you want to go with it. I don't want that, but it looks super cool. Imagine just shooting like a 80s tech retro vibe something, or even like a futuristic 80s cyberpunk type thing, and having like all that halation just booming. Man, that'd be so cool. I would love the opportunity to shoot on film one day, like, but this is, the next best thing. I'm just doing that so that way it's noticeable so you can see it. But you can go there. So you have just different options. So again, like I said, it's all these different things that make up the film look. It's not just one thing, it's several things. You can kind of see the spots here. When I hit the mask mode, it's just hard to tell because it's not a whole lot of it happening. I just want it to be noticeable, so I'm leaving it on. And when it's playing, it might look weird. We're going to put bloom on because why not? It looks cool. You can see here, like around on her skin, you can really tell. It blooms that out, just softens it up a little bit. Man, it's coming together, guys. It's coming together. Feel free to leave comments if you have any questions or anything before I wrap up. If we have questions, I'll answer them. But yeah, I love this stuff. I think color grading is probably I kind of go back and forth, but just when I'm just playing around with stuff, I have a cinematography background. So I always will have a love for cinematography, even though I don't do it as much as I used to. But that was like my entry into film was cinematography. So I always loved looking at images and studying them and learning about film. Even though I never shot on film, I never got the opportunity to, but I always like to learn how cinematographers who shot on film did things. I would look at film stocks and look at images. I go on IMDb, things like that to find out, which film stock was this shot on. And when I got the enhancer, I was like, okay, I can kind of like really play with it now. I can go in and I don't have to just be like, let me find some film grain and just slap it on top of the image, or let me find this LUT that says it's this and just slap it on top. I can really go in and dial in and get this look. Film breathing, we don't want to mess with that too much. Gate weave, kind of just adjust certain things. Overscan, you can change how this looks, so it'll do different things. Like it's not enabled right now, I can tell. Yep, it wasn't enabled, so it'll do these things too. So if you really want to get like, we're projecting it, or I don't know why you would really, for a movie, if you're doing like a music video or something, that might look cool. What you can do, and it'll tell you what the aspect ratio is. So we got a 1.661, 185, ultra panavision, so you can something like that. So this seems more stylistic. I don't really know what the use case for this is, to be honest with you. Professionally, I have no idea what the idea was. Maybe it's just to have the look. I don't know. Unless it's if you're going to be showing it in that way. I don't know though, because I feel like that still wouldn't really change your output aspect ratio. So static gate, I think, yeah. So now I believe it'll play, like it'll be moving around. Yeah, I think so. It's gonna be hard to play this because that's the one thing you got to make sure your computer can handle all of this. It's so like processor heavy when it starts adding in film grain and things that it really bogs your computer down. So unless you have a computer that can handle it, the film grain even on computers that are heavier, like this is my personal computer at home, but the one I have for at work when I'm using for like professional things, that's still, I sometimes have to turn it off so I can watch visually what's happening, because it won't always play perfectly. But yeah, so we went through all of that, and this is what we, ended up on. Maybe I'll keep playing with it and tweaking it and things, but this is essentially what we got. I'm going to try to play it. We'll see what happens. We shall see what happens. I don't know if it really will work. Oh yeah, because it's like, it's going to be cool because it's like a push in. So obviously I didn't, let me track that mask with her because it's not, let's go back to the blur. Pull up our window, go to here, and let me cut it because I don't want it to go on forever. We'll do it to here. I'm just going to track this mask so we can just see it. Like I said, I'm going to try to play it. We'll see what happens. It probably will stutter. I'd have to do an export, and maybe that's what I'll do. I'll do an export, and then I'll bring it back in so we can look at it in real time. But yeah, so I mean, this is, like I said, it's different ingredients that go into it. It's not just one. Let me just drop this on, and then we'll do our before and before we do that though. Let's go ahead and do our before and after. Who doesn't like a good before and after? All right, I wish I had done it. Let me do it like this, so that way we can get a nice, so we can just see it. I'm gonna grab let me do this. I feel like that's the word of the night is let me do this. I say that so much. All right, we're gonna grab a still. That's our final look. I'm gonna call it final, and then I'm gonna say that's without the look. No look, without look. Pre-look. Pre-look, and then without any color grading at all, where it's just a conversion. Let me do that too, so we have that. So I'll turn off all this stuff, and we'll have just our basic conversion from log to Rec 709. And I'll grab a still, and then I'll just say, no, don't play still. That's not what I meant to do. We'll say change label to, we'll just call it Rec 709. So when someone says, oh, that image is perfect, you don't need to change anything, tell them I can do some stuff. Don't worry about it. Let me play with it. I mean, sometimes people really don't want to mess with things, so it's, you don't fault them for that. All right. Let's see. So we got, let me do, that's going to be the best way. I guess I can just reset all of this. Oof, I don't want to reset it. That's going to, let me do this. Since I just did all my, okay, there we go. Reset everything. So we got our very first look. Wish I could make this bigger, but I need that to be there. Or I can do this at least. All right, so we just do our before and our after. So this is first brought it in, nothing really going on. This is our conversion to Rec 709. See what I did. Let's do that. It messed it up. Okay, so clear this. Reset no grades. Oh, I really see what I did. Okay, I have the wipe on, no wonder. So yeah, log. This is our Rec 709. Boom, first stage. Then we went to this stage where we did a little bit of a grade. Nothing crazy. It was, I was kind of do like a little wipe so you can kind of see. This is the grade. And this is just the Rec 709 conversion. So, it's like, oh, okay. Usually when you look at Rec 709, at least for me, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. But, we just kind of went through, started playing with it. We did some primaries. We tweaked the color density a little bit. We did a nice little blur effect, things like that. And turn that off. And then for our final look, with the full film look that we created and how to make a film look, this is what we ended up with. We got our film grain. We found the Kodak Vision 3 from the film that we use as a reference, and then we created it. Like I said, I'll go back to that image that we decided to that we used as our reference. This film, which one do I want to use? So I can grab any of these. Probably an indoor one. What's a good one? This is where I wish I had used my film, my director's lookbook. What's a good one? I'll just grab. I don't have a shot of her looking just like that. I mean, this is kind of like that, but it looks very different. It doesn't look this. Has this, it's darker scene obviously, but has that warm tone film grain, and then it was switched over to here. Not exactly the same, but it's also a lighter scene. But film grain is in there. Actually, the film grain I think is still way heavier over here. Yeah, they went, they leaned into it. That thing is great. It's also a darker scene too. So, but the film grain is just heavy. It's just kind of heavy, and the outdoor shots not as much. But yeah, this is a cool looking film. It really is, and that's why I liked it. But it's still warmer, honestly. I think I could go warmer with my image to get it there. But again, I'm not trying to match it perfectly. It's just inspiration. But anyways, that's it. So we got our befores and that, and boom. Before and after. So yeah, there we go. It did its thing, so we should be able to play this now. Oh, did I add? Dang, I messed it up, didn't I? I accidentally added. Oh, that's annoying. I was messing with stuff and then I didn't. It's not a big deal. We'll just watch it through. The thing may not track with her, but it's not a big deal. Let's see how it plays. Yeah, it's going way too slow. So what I'm going to do is do a quick export of just that section so we can watch it and don't even need all that really. All right. Just throw in my downloads real quick. So I'm not gonna keep it. We're just doing a quick thing. We don't need to. Why did I do that? That's annoying. That's actually very annoying. That's fine. We're gonna save that. Downloads is cool. While you're not letting me add a surrender queue, what am I missing? What did I do? I did something. Oh, it's because it's playing. What am I doing? What am I missing? I'm missing something. I did something weird. I don't know why it's not letting me render this out. Is it because I must have did something to my, let's just put it here. Oh, it's the name, isn't it? It's throwing it off. Huh. That's really weird. I have to look into it. I don't know what I'm doing. What I did something that's not allowing me to render this. And it's probably simple and I'm probably not realizing it because I'm trying to talk and do this at the same time. But why are you not? Resolution. That's so weird. Interesting. Render without time. There's something I'm doing that I'm missing that I need to. I'm sure it's super simple. That I've never run this issue before. So it's render queue. Yeah, that's so odd. I really want to figure this out now. But anyway, we're going to try to play this very slowly so you can see it in the process. Maybe to just make it more dramatic. But yeah, the film grain really bogs it down a lot. But I think it looks cool. And it definitely gives it a film cinematic vibe and kind of creates the look that we're going for. And she ends with a nice little smirk. But yeah, so anyway, that's gonna go ahead and we can go ahead and wrap that up. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm gonna figure out what the issue is I'm having with my program. I'm sure it's something simple that I'm missing, that I'm not properly thinking of right now. Then I'm like, oh, well, yeah, duh, because I did something, and I'm like, no wonder it wasn't working. I'm sure I did something I didn't realize I did that messed it up. That's just so weird. I've never seen that happen before. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and move on from that. And thank you to everyone who was watching in this episode. If you have questions, you can leave it on a comment on this video. You can come back to it later and leave a comment. Like I said, I'm not taking anything down. Tomorrow we will be talking. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a live, not a live edit, but we'll be doing a breakdown on a project that I've edited before. I might do a few different projects, and we're going to go in and kind of like break down, talk about different ways to cut, like different decisions I made, why I made certain decisions, why I may have started with one way and decided to change it because it was a better way of doing it. We're going to touch on all that tomorrow. The streaming schedule is up on my YouTube. There on the community page. I made a post, and I'll probably make another one for tomorrow's stream, but that says the times for all week. Like I said, we're doing it all week, so I'll be back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we'll close it out on Saturday with community night. So if you have questions, things you want me to, some things that have been going on, some things you want to know about, be sure to let me know. But that's it for this one. Thank you to everyone who was here and joined us. I appreciate you. And I'm going to go ahead and end this out and get me some food. Have a good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.